Hello, my name is David Jones. I'm the Managing Director for Robert Half across Asia Pacific. I'd like to welcome you to our CFO Masters Series. Throughout this series, we've been able to gain unprecedented access to some of the most influential CFOs across the region. The series will help to uncover what these people's main leadership qualities are, how they got to where they are in their careers, and what keeps them driving forward. I hope you enjoy the CFO Masters Series.
Hi, and welcome to the Robert Half CFO Masters Series. In this episode, we talk to Mark Steinberg. Mark is a chartered accountant with extensive experience in investment banking and telecommunications, having worked with the Macquarie Group and Vodafone before being appointed CFO of Colonial First State. Mark displays many of the attributes needed for a CFO in the current business environment, with strengths in both corporate stewardship and strategy development. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Mark and this episode of the CFO Masters Series.
Mark Steinberg, welcome to the CFO Masters Series.
Thank you.
Mark, you're the Chief Financial Officer for Colonial First State Asset Management, which is Australia's biggest asset manager, and a division of one of the largest listed companies on the Australian Stock Exchange. With so many Australian institutions and individuals relying on your company to protect and grow their wealth, do you feel an extra pressure to ensure that the company's financial management is above reproach?
I think that it is always important in any environment or any set of circumstances for a company's financial management to be beyond reproach, so in good times and in bad. I guess with the events of the last 12 or 18 months, that responsibility may have been brought more sharply into focus, but nonetheless I think it's as important in good times to ensure that the standards that are maintained within a business and the way that in which it is run is above reproach, both from a professional or functional point of view, but as well from a governance, or particularly in our business, a fiduciary point of view, where we are seen as a trusted fiduciary or agent of the very valuable assets that our clients invest with us.
Mark, you've previously worked in the commercial sector. Do you find that working in the managed fund and asset management business is more challenging than working in the commercial sector?
I think it's different, but maybe not more challenging. Again, I think working in large organisations, which I've typically done over my career, present their challenges, and those challenges differ according to the industry and the circumstances. Certainly when I first moved into the financial services sector and into funds management, I found that to be quite a big change in terms of what the types of challenges were. But ultimately, when I look at the complexity of a business, or what I've been required to do and functionally what I've been responsible for, I wouldn't say that one sector has been any more or less difficult than another. It is simply a case of understanding what your contribution responsibilities are and making sure that you deliver on those.
What do you think about when you contemplate making a change like that?
Many things, and I must say, when I got out of the commercial environment and into the financial services sector, it was at a point in my life and career when I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of time on my side to think more widely about what I wanted to do. And my time in the commercial sector had been dominated by spells in the telecommunications industry, and I had an opportunity to think about whether I wanted to continue in that industry or try something different, and a reasonable time frame in which to make a considered decision around what may be best. And I'm very grateful for some help I received during that time from a professional consultant who I still use today as a coach and a mentor, but that enabled me to think more widely about what I enjoy doing, what motivated me, the challenges I like to see in a role, and in going through that process, certainly opened my eyes to trying something different, getting into a sector with which I was not familiar, and doing something that would represent quite a significant change from what I've done before. And the benefit of hindsight, that was a very good decision.
You mentioned having a mentor. I imagine that being at such a senior position in a large company is quite isolating in many respects. How important is it to you to surround yourself with people upon whom you can draw for wisdom and advice?
Working in organisations which I have, I suppose I've been very fortunate in having very good, competent people around me. So I think fortunately I've not encountered any real experiences where I've felt alone or isolated, because I've had good people around me, and I've worked in organisations where the culture was one of collaboration, if you like, and there was support in the organisation to help you through difficult decisions. However, I have found it incredibly useful to be able to refer to people who are external to the organisation from time to time, because that allows you to get a perspective from the outside rather than the inside, and can be a very good sense check against what you're living and breathing day to day, and can allow you to step back and perhaps look at things a little bit differently.
Mark, you have a Bachelor of Commerce degree with an accounting major. What were your career aspirations when you were starting out?
I'll probably go back to even before I started my university degree, and you can probably hear from my accent that I grew up in South Africa. And while I was in high school and thinking what to do beyond school and for a profession, one of the things that attracted me towards qualifying as a chartered accountant was that it would more likely than not give me the opportunity to travel and use my qualifications somewhere else in the world, and that has turned out to be the case. So having done my qualifications in South Africa and become a chartered accountant there, it did indeed open doors to me to move overseas, which I took up at a reasonably young age. I was in my mid-20s, and that was certainly quite a large factor in the decision I made to enrol for a commerce degree in the first place.
Many, if not most, financial professionals look up to people in the CFO job, not only in terms of their career aspirations, but also for wisdom and as a source of inspiration. What career advice would you offer to a new finance graduate who was just starting out?
I think that in your early years, it is important to learn as much as you can about the organisation you're in, the environment that you operate, the markets, etc. One thing I have noticed over my career, and no doubt was guilty of myself, was I felt after 4 or 5 years I knew everything, and was ready for much more than I was actually capable of carrying out. And I think the missing ingredient there, and it's obviously through no fault of the graduate themselves, is that experience actually makes up a large part of your capability, and it's only by being in a variety of roles, perhaps in a number of different organisations or even in a number of different geographies, that you ultimately collect a sufficient experience to aid the technical and commercial and strategic ability that you may have to make yourself a more complete person, and therefore able to contribute to an organisation in a greater way.
Many financial professionals over the last 9 months must have felt like they were sailing through a cyclone. How do you maintain work-life balance and stay fresh when the pressure is really on?
One of the things I have always lived by is that I don't believe that getting stressed gets the job done any better. So I certainly try not to stress, and I also believe that taking a calm and measured approach to dealing with problems and situations is ultimately going to be the way that issues get properly dealt with and resolved. So I do tend to remain calm. In the day-to-day work environment, I think that whilst I take a very professional approach to my work, I also like to think that I'm at ease most of the time, approachable to the people that I work with, collaborative in the way tasks and duties are assigned and issues are resolved. And I've generally managed to achieve that throughout my working life. I must say that I also would pay tribute to my wife, who makes sure that I don't spend too much time in the office and spend enough time at home with her and the kids, which is a very important aspect of how I spend my time. And again, every now and again you get instances of unfortunate instances of things that maybe happen to people which curtail not only their working life but their ability to enjoy their life generally. And it's when you see instances like that that you get reminded about how important that work-life balance is, and to make sure that you're seeing enough of your family and spending enough time in your job and doing the things that you want to do to be a successful all-rounder.
How important is networking to you, both as the CFO and also as a finance professional?
I think it's very important in two respects. Networking both within the organisation that you're working and externally. That was probably brought into focus for me most sharply after I'd spent a considerable period of time outside of Australia. When I'd been working with Vodafone, I spent 4 years abroad working in some of their foreign operations, and found when I got back to Sydney after that break that I'd lost important contacts and ties that I had to re-establish once I was back. And ever since then I've been a lot more vigilant in making sure that I work on my network, that I expand it when I get the opportunities, that I work with people who I can either help or I think can help me from time to time. So I find that external network very important. It's helped me source people when I've needed to do that, get advice when I've needed it, and it's something that I would strongly recommend to any finance professional as something that they should actively pursue throughout the course of their career. But equally important, I think, particularly in larger organisations, it's important to have a good internal network, again for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because in large organisations it is quite common that different parts of the business or different parts of a group need to come together to ultimately make decisions that affect that business, and it's important to have good relationships with people that you may not work with on a day-to-day basis, or indeed may not have a reporting line with you, but whom you do need to work with from time to time to ensure that objectives in the business are achieved in the way that you'd like them to be. Equally, when you're looking for other opportunities within an organisation, again, it may be somewhere else in the business which is quite remote from where you are today. And in terms of being able to progress those career opportunities, again, I feel it's very important to be well networked throughout your organisation to aid in that career progression.
As a financial professional, you're already at the top of the tree. How does somebody in your position plan the next career move?
Stu, I think there's often the next career move no matter where you are. And there certainly are still things that I would like to achieve in my career. Whilst I have a pretty substantial role at the moment, even within the Commonwealth Bank, there are other more senior financial roles that ultimately could be of interest to me later on in my career. But also through my involvement in the business commercially and strategically, one of the other things that I aspire to in the future is to have a senior non-finance role in an organisation where I can take on a different set of challenges and make a contribution to the business in a different way.
Mark Steinberg, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.